And lastly is David's self-respect. To take away those crutches, that self-respect, he went to in 1 Samuel 21, chapter 21, verse 1, it says, "And David went to Nob to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, 'Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?' David answered Ahimelech the priest, 'The king charged me with a certain matter and said to me, no one is to know anything about your mission.' So David goes and he lies and says, 'This is why I'm here.' But again, Doug the Edomite found out, and he reported to Saul, and Saul come after him. David went to his enemy to live with the Philistines, to get safety from the enemy. And while he was there, he started acting like a maniac. In chapter 21 and verse 13, he says, "So he changed his behavior before them and pretended to be insane in their hands. It made marks on the door and the gate, and his spittle ran down his beard." He acted like a madman. He lost all self-respect. David thought he was at the end of it, that he couldn't go on because all the things that he had trusted in, all the things that had got him this far, God was taken away. And he was left with, what do I do now? But the great thing about it is knowing that God is with us. Knowing that these crutches that we think are helping us become a crutch that we depend upon. But it's so great to say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to rely on that. I don't want to trust in that. When I was at Harmony Castings in the quality department, a customer would call in and say, "Hey, I got this problem." I say, "What's a problem?" And they would explain it to me, or they'd send me pictures of it. And I knew the process well enough, and I knew what it took to get the castings to what the customer needed. And I would look at it and say, "Well, here's your problem. Yeah, I know exactly what's wrong, and this is how you fix it. Now, you want to do it, or you want us to do it?" "Well, we can't do it. That's your job." "Okay, fine." And I got sent out of town many a times to fix a customer's problem, to keep them going, to keep them in productivity, so to speak. And that was great that I could fix the problem, and I would say, "That's great. We got the customer going. They're happy. Everything's good." But you know what? If you don't look at the real problem, it's going to happen again. And we had a process that was called 5 whys. You ask yourself why 5 times. So the first why, I'm going to give you an example. You pull in your garage, you run over some roofing nails, and you get a flat tire. Well, why? Well, there's a roofing nail on the floor. Okay, so you swept it up. You got the tire fixed, everything's good. If you leave it at that, odds are you're probably going to get a flat tire again. So you ask yourself, well, why was the roofing nails on the floor? And you say, well, the box up there broke open, the nails fell out, they're on the floor, that's why they're there. Okay, great. The third why did that box break open? Well, they were wet. Well, why were they wet? Well, because the roof leaked. You see, you ran over a nail because a nail fell out of a box that got wet because the roof leaked. Well, why did the roof leak? Well, we didn't fix it when it was dry. And the rain came through and ruined the box, and it split open. That's the same in our lives if we don't ask ourselves, Why are we dependent upon crutches? Why are we doing this? If we don't ask ourselves and push ourselves to look at ourselves and say, why? Have I left God alone and not rely on Him and relied on myself? Are we like David and all these things, our position, our family, whatever it may be in our lives that we are relying on? Are we trusting in them instead of in God? Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Isaiah 25:4 says, you have been a refuge for the poor, a refuge for the needy in their distress, and a shelter from the storm and the shade from the heat. You see, God is our strength. Wilma Rudolph was the 20th of 22 children born in her family. She was born prematurely, and the doctors did not expect her to survive. She did, but at the age of 4, she contracted double pneumonia and scarlet fever, which left her left leg paralyzed. At age 9, she removed the metal leg brace that she had depended on the past 5 years and began walking without it. By the time she was 13, she had developed a rhythmic walk, which doctor says was a miracle. And that same year, she decided to begin running. And then she decided to enter a race. And the first race she entered into, she lost. But she kept running and entering races. And finally, she won her first race. This young girl, this young child that wasn't expected to live because she was premature, wasn't expected to walk, was running, ended up winning 3 Olympic gold medals. She didn't rely on the leg brace. She didn't rely on the circumstances that she went through, but trusted in God enough to say, I am going to do this. And that's what God wants each of us to do, is rely on Him, trust in Him, seek out His wisdom, His guidance. And as we know, David became a mighty king. Did he fall and have other faults? Yeah, he did. But God was with him, even to the point where David says, renew in me a new heart. Oh Lord, I pray. I pray today that whatever you're going through, whatever you're relying on or trusting on in your life, is it based on God? Are you trusting in Him? Or are you trusting in yourself? Or other things? What is the crutch that you can point at? And I can't say what it is for each of you. Everyone's different. But you have to look at it and say, Lord, can I get rid of this crutch? And trust in Him.